Good morning, everyone. Welcome to workshop number 2 with our National Financial Literacy campaign. In this workshop, we're going to talk about increasing cash flow and debt management. This is a great workshop for those that are looking to find strategies or solutions on how they can offset or eliminate their debt in a mindful way. Okay, I mean, if you look at America, we live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, yet so many people are just consumed daily by overwhelming debt. Right? We have student loan debt, credit card debt, car loans, mortgages, and without properly understanding how to manage it, the debts can really compound and work against you over time. Right, so before we get started, I'm going to read the disclaimer. The information in this presentation should not be interpreted as accounting, investment, legal, or tax advice. It is not an offer to sell or a solicitation to buy any security, insurance, or any other financial product. This workshop is for educational purposes only. Our national campaign for financial literacy is to bring financial awareness and education. You will not learn everything during the course of this workshop. However, we hope you learn, gain more confidence, and take action towards reaching your goals. Being part of our campaign, we encourage you to help empower others to do the same. And to help us preserve the integrity and context of this information, please do not take any photos, videos, or record this workshop. All right, so that's for those that are attending these workshops live and in person. Financial education isn't an option. The reality is there's so many people going through financial struggles. It's really a necessity that World System Builder is committed to solve by educating and empowering 30 million families by 2030. And, we want everyone to be a part of the campaign that is revolutionizing the financial industry. We want to build a new industry where more people have the chances and the choices to build more financial independence. Okay. Welcome to our workshop. Every day we are flooded with information. Everything's available now with the technology and Google and information just being so accessible. We have to know how to filter through and find the good information, the bad information, the right information, the wrong information, right? So many offer financial advice but are unlicensed or without industry experience. And those in the old traditional industry narrowly focus on one or two aspects of their finances. And that's something really important to understand is in the old industry, if you didn't have money, if you weren't coming from a wealthy family or you didn't have $250,000 or more for them to manage your portfolio, chances are they weren't inviting you to the table. They weren't pulling up a chair so that way they can see where your financial situation is. Okay, so for us, we want to look at the total picture. We want to look at the holistic approach. We don't want to just look at what you have in your investment portfolio. We don't want to look at just your savings, high yield savings, CDs, what's in your bank accounts, right? We want to look at, do you have an estate plan set up? Do you have passive income? Do you have your debt solved? Do you have emergency funds? But more importantly, do you have income protection or income replacement? Okay, there are a lot of things that people neglect and all they see is stocks, investments, and cryptocurrency. And what they don't prepare for is market crashes, taxes, capital gains tax. They're not prepared for emergencies, health issues, right? And these are things that we neglect when we're too busy focusing on our everyday problems or just making money. Okay, so we want to take a more holistic approach, and our workshops educate and empower you to become your own money manager. And we highly believe that every family should have at least one licensed professional who's looking over, managing, and having access and resources to more of the financial services that are available out there. Okay, so control your finances, control your future. Your vision, your goals. In workshop 1, we talked about, some of the goals that you might have, so that way at least you have a plan and some sort of intention while you're building towards your financial independence. And in this one, we're going to ask you, where would you like to be in 5 years? And it's important to be very specific and very detailed. Have a date to some of these, because if not, the next 5 years might look like the last 5 years. And I say that is because, again, people are so busy with their everyday routine that it's easy to fall and drift by without making any impact towards your goals, right? So in the next 5 years, what will your net worth be? Okay, so you need to know how much you want to be worth, what the value of your assets are going to be, so that way we can work towards it, we can build towards it. But if you just say, I want a lot of money, well, $1 more than what you have now is a lot of money. depending on the situation. $100 more than what you have now might be a lot of money, right? And when you say in the future, it could be 1 year, 1 day, it could be 1 month, it could be 1 decade from now. So you want to be as specific as possible when you're setting goals, deadlines, and things to focus on, so that way you have a target to work towards. What will your retirement look like? It's important. This one's important because if you look out there, many people cannot retire comfortably. They work all their lives putting into their 401k, investing the difference, mutual fund stocks, whatever it is that they have going on. And if everything was so great, how come less than 60% of the population, 70% of the population can actually retire comfortably? Right? Some people can retire if they reduce their lifestyle, or some people can retire if they move to another country. Right? But most people cannot retire in America with what they have, at least not for 20 years. You know, because if you're going to retire at 65, let's say we wait until 70 years old, because that's the new strategy now. People are expected to wait a lot longer to retire so they can have maybe more money. But if you live for 20 years from 70 to 90, do you have enough to really take care of that? Right? And I ask that because if people are making six figures today and they can't save any money, they're living paycheck to paycheck, what's going to happen when you go into retirement and you don't have $100,000 plus coming out to pay you every year for retirement, right? So what's going to happen when you lose that salary or that 2 or 3 jobs or whatever it is that's producing the income for you, and then all of a sudden now you're depending on investment returns and Social Security, right? And what is your plan to achieve these goals? So it's our job to really focus in and help you. One, list out the goals, but two, set up the foundation and the portfolio so that way you can reach that plan of yours. So in Workshop 2, Increase Cash Flow and Debt Management, you're going to learn how to discover $100 or more that you didn't know you had. Okay. We're going to find out where your money is going. That's the most important thing. People make more through raises, promotions, switching jobs, degrees, and they just don't know where their money is going, right? We go from one job to the next. We go from one job to 2 jobs. We're making more money, yet we still have more month at the end of the money. So we need to find out where your money is going. Build a real plan to be debt-free faster, okay? Not a temporary plan where you're going to try to do a little bit here, there, or quit eating or whatever it is. We need to build a real plan to become debt-free faster. And then how to increase cash flow, okay? Because we know that money isn't the greatest asset. We know that money is we know that money is not the greatest asset. Applied knowledge is. Money is not as important, but it's pretty high up there. Because without money, you're not going to take care of a lot of the problems that's going to be a burden to you and your family. Okay. So increasing your cash flow. There's 2 ways to increase your cash flow. If you have the black and white workbook, this is going to be on page 18. But the 2 ways to increase your cash flow is to either spend less or earn more money. Okay. It sounds pretty obvious. If you spend less, you're going to have a little bit more extra. And then what you do with that extra money is what's important, because that money needs to be compounding and making more money for you, right? And the alternative is if a lot of people are like, well, everything that I make is what I need to survive, and everything I'm making is what I need to spend, then the alternative is you need to be able to make more money, okay? So it isn't about how much money you make, but it is about how much you can keep, okay? Because in today's culture, again, people know how to make money, and then they spend money, and then they try to save what's left. And that's a vicious cycle to try to break, because if you look at it, if you're gonna spend everything first and then try to save whatever is left over, chances are there's really nothing left to save, right? So in the concept of paying yourself first, what you really want to do is you want to respect yourself to the point where you've already given in the time, 40, 50, 60 hours last week to a job or to whatever it is that you do. And now you finally get a paycheck. And if you're a W-2 earner, you don't even get paid first, because the taxes get paid first. That gets taken out first, right? And then usually what ends up happening is that people have bills. They have rent, mortgage, electricity, gas. They have payments, car payments, credit card payments. and everyone else gets paid first before you actually get paid. So we need to help people understand the importance of going to work, getting a paycheck, pay your taxes, but save first. Pay yourself first before you pay other people, and then spend what's left over. Okay? If you can go to work and you're making $1,000 a week and you can save 10% or $100 and set it aside, all your bills will figure it out between the $900 left over. But if you go with the bills first, chances are all $1,000 will end up being spent. Okay? And that's the problem here, is you can see that a lot of people spend more of what they make and then they attempt to save, and most of the time people fail. And that's why, monitoring our behavior and our discipline for our habits, our spending habits, is critical to getting ourselves out of debt. But when you make your first payment to your family, your children, your future, and then spend what's left, it really helps you understand the value that you can bring to the table for your family. Because if you're always in a situation where you don't have money, you're not going to feel valued, you're not going to feel respected or appreciated. You know what I mean? Because financially, it's a reflection of what we're able to do. And some people are working day and night, and they just look back to say, hey, I work so much and I never have anything, right? So let's find ways to save more and spend less money. And even though it seems like a simple strategy, believe it or not, without some sort of guideline or some sort of realization on disciplining your actions, it'll slip by. So where's your money going? This is an easy little spreadsheet that you can create, a budgeting list, if you will. But every time you spend your money, you should write down what you're buying and how much it costs. And if you did this for, every day for about a month, you're going to realize that there's a lot of things on the list that you might not need to spend money on that's been taking up a lot of your cash. Okay? So paying is more convenient than ever. Nowadays, we don't even need to have cash. We buy everything in advance and we pay it over time. But don't lose control of how much you spend. Ask yourself, if I pay with a credit card, am I able to pay it off in full? Okay? Did you spend your money wisely? Because it's too easy nowadays just to buy something and pay it later. But then when we buy too many things to pay later, all those payments, when they start hitting, become more than what we make. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to sit down and take a look at this personal financial strategy. We would love to sit down and talk to you about it, so that way we can evaluate where your money is truly going. All right? And it's important to reevaluate this every month in the beginning, or maybe I tell my clients, when you first sit down and do this, every 3 months, fill this out, see if you're on track. The first couple of times, we'll sit down with you to go through this, but then do it every 6 months until you're very comfortable with managing your money. And then once a year, once you understand the concepts, once a year you should be going over this, so that way you can see if you're on track with your intentions. Okay? Because the more money we make, the more money we spend. There are people that are making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, and they're still in debt. All right? So it's not like the more money you make, the less debt you have. That's truly false. And the reason why I say that is because when you're making $100,000 a year, you might drive a Honda, right? But when you're making $300,000 a year, you might drive a Maserati or something. You might live in a $500,000 home when you have $100,000 a year, but at a $300,000 a year, you're living in a $1.2 million home. So everything scales in proportion to what you make. So it's not like you make more money and you live in a $500,000 home and you drive a Honda, right? That's usually not the case. Check your progress. A lot of times just checking up on things is important. Sometimes we charge things, or we have subscriptions that are charging us every month and we're not paying attention to it, and it continues to add up. New possible savings. We can look for, auto insurance. We can look for coupons. There are ways where we can reduce some of the cost to what we spend on every month or every week. Okay? And automatic payments. Usually they give you a discount for setting up bundled deals or automatic payments, just because the service is more streamlined and they have to pay less on the other end to take care of the processing. So here's a little checklist that you can kind of go over, kind of like a memory jogger, in a way, just so we can write it down A lot of times, like I said, we spend money on things that we forget about and it's still charging us. But here are a few questions. I'm not going to read every single line. There's a few pages of this. Again, this is going to be in workbook page 19 if you see it on the bottom there. But can you save money by carpooling, right? If your children all play soccer or all play sports together on the same team and you live in the same neighborhoods, maybe you can work something out where your children can carpool, and you alternate days on who drives them to school or who picks them up, right? Do you drink a lot of coffees or cigarettes or smoke or lattes? Do you go to $5 every day, right? Is that something that you can change where you make your own coffee and possibly save some money and quit smoking and save your health, right? So there are some things that we can do just through this daily checklist to see if we're maximizing the most efficient way possible on how we spend our money, right? On some of this one, do we have online subscriptions that we can cancel, or do we have cut down shopping, right? Some people are impulsive buyers, okay? A lot of times, if you're an impulsive shopper, you can look for what you would like to have and then, kind of wait 24 hours, 48 hours to see if you absolutely need it, before you go back and get it. And what that will do is sometimes when you're already home or you're not there in that moment, you might say, you know what, even if I really want it, I'm not gonna drive back out there, right? And if you don't need to buy it right now and you go home and you're fine and everything is still well, maybe you don't need it in the first place to begin with, okay? So here, just again, you can look through it. Some people get a gym membership at the beginning of the year because that's the New Year's resolution thing, and they barely ever go to the gym. So these are little expenses that we can cut out. All right. And what we need to do is, once we reduce some of the debt that you have, or monitor some of the spending behaviors that we have, we can learn how to put that money to work. Okay, can you build a habit of saving first by paying yourself first and then spending what's left? Okay, so take control of your cash flow. What's the cost of wasting $6.60 a day? Let's say that's a coffee and a donut. That's around $200 a month. That could be growing at a 10% annual. If you can save $200 a month and earn a 10% return off of that $200 every month that you're saving, okay, in 10 years, you're going to be able to have about $40,000. Is that mind-blowing? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, in 10 years, you have an extra $40,000 on top of your salary, on top of other income streams that you have. It might not be bad. In 20 years, however, it changes from $40,000 now to $142,000. And that is something that is very significant. Okay, so just imagine if from 10 years to 20 years, the difference is about $100,000. How do you think that money will compound with another 10 years? Okay, because now you're at $400,000. And that's the cost of wasting $6.60 a day. When we go to McDonald's, when we go, whatever it is that we do that we don't need to, right? This is what it's costing us over time. In that moment, you might just say, well, it's only $6.60. Yes, but over time, if we eliminated some of the behaviors that we don't need, that's not serving us, we could actually build a lot more compounding interest where your money is making money for you. It's working harder for you rather than against you. I mean, one good example would be smoking. A lot of people smoke and they don't realize that cigarettes are so expensive, and it's also something hazardous to your health. If we can eliminate that alone, just imagine how much money you can save if you quit smoking, okay, or drinking, right, or gambling. I mean, there's a lot of things that people spend their money on that is actually counterproductive to their health. So what can you purchase with $6.60 today? And is it worth it where if you can save or eliminate that expense and save that money for the next 30 years, what can you buy with $408,000 in 30 years, right? Is it going to be worth it? And, the question is, for some people, there are some things that they cannot live without and they work hard so that they can have it. And that's fine. But is everything that you're spending money on worth it, or you have to have, right? And that's just something we have to ask ourselves, because where we end up is really up to us. You can't blame your job, the government, you can't blame other people, because at the end of the day, the decision to spend our money is on us. Okay? To determine your net worth is a very easy calculation. It's simply taking your assets, reducing or eliminating the liabilities, and that will determine what your net worth is. Okay, a lot of people have more liabilities than they do have assets, so a lot of people actually have negative net worth. Okay, so I mean, one good example that I see is people buying expensive cars where they're paying $600 to $1,000 a month on car payments and insurance, and they don't have a house and they're still renting or living with their parents, right? Not to say that you don't need a super large SUV that is safety in every single category or whatever it may be that you see in the car, but sometimes having a car that is simply a liability, liabilities are just something that doesn't add money to your pockets. It's something that takes money out of your pockets but does not add money, because you got to do maintenance, you got to do oil changes, you have to do belt changes, you have to pour gas into it or charge it, right? That's not making you any money. You can say that, yes, you need a car to get to work so you can make money, but $1,000 a month car payment versus $400 a month car payment, that's a very big difference that does the same thing. Okay? So assets, on the other hand, are something that adds money to your pocket. So something that actually has growing and appreciating monetary value. Okay, versus a liability is just something that is costing you money and not bringing you any appreciation or not making you any true value. And that is how you determine your net worth. So simply put, assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out of your pocket. The rich buy assets, the middle class buy liabilities thinking that they are assets. Okay, so what do? Are you into luxury cars, high-end purses? Are you a tech toy kind of person where you got to have the newest of everything that comes out? Some people are watch collectors. I mean, watch collectors, depending if you're buying the right watches, they do go up in appreciate and value, right? And what about your new home? Is that an asset or a liability? New homes, if you take care of it, if you have a rental property or if you have a multifamily, for example, that is clearly an asset. But a mortgage in the beginning, if you're buying a single family that you're living in, it's more of a liability in the beginning until you can build some equity, right? Because if you buy a house, let's say during COVID time when asking price people are paying $100,000 over 5% interest rate, over depending on how everything settles down, you might end up paying more for a house that doesn't even have that amount of equity, right? But I mean, if you leave it for decades and decades, house prices will always eventually go back up, or the asset and equity that you have will always increase. Renting is definitely not an asset, okay? Because now you're just paying for somebody else's asset, where you have no ownership or control over it. So the question really comes down to, can we reduce our liabilities, cut down our debts? That's one way where we can free up some money, so that way we can put that money to areas where it can make more money. Okay, so with commitment and discipline, you can get out of debt. Nothing's impossible. So here's a little spreadsheet on workbook page 21. Easy way for you to kind of list out and see where your assets and liabilities are, and kind of test yourself to see if you know how much money you're spending in each category. All right, so what's the market value of the home? If you bought the home with the down payment and the market value went up, you're going to have some equity sitting in there, right? Mutual funds and stocks, what do you have there? What do you have? How much money do you have allotted to that? Savings, checking, retirement accounts, client life insurance policy. Just take a look at that down there at the bottom where it says client life insurance policy and the spouse's life insurance policy. Okay, if you have a permanent policy, that is considered an asset for you, right? Because mainly, one, permanent policies have a cash value component to it, but two, when something happens to you, you have that's going to end up paying out to your estate or to your beneficiary, right? So that is calculated as part of your estate. So these are things like, what do you have more of? Do you have more assets or do you have more liabilities, right? And this one second mortgage? Are you taking out loans on top of your loans on the mortgage, right? Refinancing. Refinancing is probably the worst strategies that they've thrown out there to keep people stuck in a mortgage payment. Okay. How many cars do you have? Jim Rohn used to say, don't buy your second car until you bought your second home. Okay. I mean, the concept is, and this is in regards to real estate agents. I know some real estate agents where all they do is try to sell homes, buy homes, whatever, right? They're all helping people sell or buy their homes. But in the process, they're missing the whole point or benefit of being a real estate agent. Can you imagine, Jim Rohn says the whole purpose of being a real estate agent is so you can buy the home, right? You help clients buy or sell homes, a couple of transactions, and then you should be taking that money that you make to put as a down payment so you can buy rental property. Okay? And that's what he means when he says don't buy the second car until you've bought your second rental property, because now your assets are paying for your liabilities. Right? One good example is if you buy a 3-family or 4-family, you live in one, at least you have 2 or 3 other units that are paying you on a monthly basis on cash flow, right? And if the house ends up getting paid off, now guess what? Now those extra payments are paying for other liabilities that you have. Okay? I mean, if you buy a rental property, you should still pay the mortgage as if you're renting from yourself. Okay? Don't just sit there comfortably waiting for other people to pay for your mortgage. But I mean, that's up to you. There's personal loans, student loans. Again, these are usually all credit cards or debt in general. So for us, you're going to see this on the personal financial strategy close to the bottom. And this is what we call your monthly cash flow, because what we're looking to really do is we're looking for your total income, and we want to reduce or take out your total asset contribution, what you're paying into it, the total liability contribution, and the monthly expenses. And that's going to determine your monthly cash flow. Okay, the right side of that PFS is all monthly expenses. The goal is to reduce as many of those or eliminate them altogether. Okay, so meet with your licensed financial professional, complete your PFS, and then take a look at where you're at, so that way we can help you reduce the debt and get financially independent sooner. This is going to be an example or an exercise that's really interesting, because we are creatures of habit. Okay, and the problem with creatures of habit is that we tend to do things the same way all the time. Okay, so in this first question or first example, they're asking you to kind of clasp your hands together. And what we're looking for is your left thumb on top or is your right thumb on top. Right? Do it in a natural way where it's comfortable for you. But usually for me, for example, if I'm not thinking about it and I clasp my hands together, my left thumb is on top, my right pinky is on the bottom. Right? And the problem is when I try to switch that over where my left pinky is on the bottom and my right thumb is on top, it feels really, really weird. Okay, so if you tried it, you're probably, it probably feels weird for you as well. Okay, but that's not the only thing. How about if you cross your arms? When you cross your arms, is your left arm on top or your right arm on top? And then if you try to switch it to do the other way, doesn't it feel weird and uncomfortable? And the reason why this is important is because our financial behavior or our financial spending is all part of our habits as well. Okay, so do you have a spending habit or do you have a saving habit? And what's going to serve you more? Okay, financial foundation, you're going to see this in every single piece of our workshops, all of our presentations, in-person meetings. You're going to see this everywhere, because for us, building a proper financial foundation is critical. Too many people out there today jump headfirst and only into investment. They don't even care about everything else. Okay, and that's the problem, and that's the reason why people cannot get out of debt, is because they're not taking care of their whole financial foundation and they're focusing only on one area. Like they're really praying for a lottery ticket that's going to hit big and pay off every other problem that they have because they've ignored it for so long. Right? That's no different than playing the stocks and putting all your money or all your eggs into one basket and hoping the market doesn't crash and the company doesn't belly up. So in workbook page 22, you can see this financial foundation, and today we're going to really talk about debt management and what strategies we can use to help get us out of that. Okay, so it's very common for us to borrow money because, again, this is a society in America where we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. Okay, and they advance us the payments so that way, advancing us the products that we want and then having us pay over time. Right, and that's the problem. If you go to Vietnam and you wanted to buy a new phone that costed $1,000, chances are you needed $1,000 in your pocket to buy it. Today, you can go to any local mall nearby, go to a phone store, and get the newest model of whatever phone you're into, preferably an Android, right? And they're going to say, here, we'll give you this new Samsung, we'll give you this new Pixel, and you don't have to pay anything today, okay? You can pay us monthly for the next 3 years, right? You can go, and that's the problem, is that we can buy things so easily. They have Affirm now, I think. It's the thing where you can go online and buy things and they break the payments down, right? And the problem with that is whether it's interest free or not, it's not the important piece. The problem with that is that we might overwhelm, or maybe miscalculate how many things we're buying, because all those monthly payments are going to start stacking on each other, right? Because we're like, oh, okay, this is only $20 a month for the next 3 years, great. And then we find something else and it's like, oh, only $15 a month for the next 3 years, awesome, right? And we keep doing that, and all these little $20, $15, $10, monthly debt starts building up to the point where it's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, and it's hard to keep up at that point, okay? But what are the most common forms of debt? We have mortgages, student loans, credit card debt, car loans. These are very common that we have. The average American, as it carries over about, $15,000 a month, I believe. As of the end of 2020, overall household debt reached well over $14.5 trillion. Okay, $14.5 trillion in consumer debt, including mortgages. The average American carries a credit card debt balance of over $5,000 a month after month, not including the mortgages. I mean, aren't we all tired of paying interest to somebody else? I mean, at the end of the day, I think mortgages are, I don't know if it's mortgage is number 1, student loans is number 2, and then credit card debt might be number 3. It might be the case. I would have to look it up again. So the cost of debt, for example, let's say you have $5,000 in credit card debt. Okay? Minimum payment's only $200 a month. Nowadays, if you've noticed, they didn't have it before, but nowadays they show you if you only pay the minimum payment, how much you will eventually pay off, assuming you don't add any more debt to it. Right, which is insane, because if you follow the payment plan, you notice that you're going to pay a lot more, sometimes double, triple what you actually owe. Average, the annual percentage rate, some people, credit cards are 19 to 30%. If you talk to them, or if you have really good credit, it might be 12% and plus. But a lot of people on average are about 19 to 30% nowadays. So of the $200 that you're paying into your $5,000 debt, 78 is going towards interest, and only 122 is actually going to the principal of what you owe, right? And that's the reason why it takes so long to pay off a debt. If you look at some of the big debts you have, sometimes the interest is very close to the minimum payment that you're required to pay, right? So like if you look at that, you might pay $200, but the interest charge was $150. Like you only paid really $50, or you've only reduced the amount of debt you owe by like $50, because next month the interest is going to hit on again, and if you're not making significant payments, it's going to take a really long time for that to go down. So only paying the minimum, you'll pay $3,000 in interest, and it will take 137 months to pay off. That's almost 11 and a half years for a $5,000 debt. Okay, the interest that you end up paying is almost as much as the original debt in this example. So the real cost of debt, they do out the math, $5,000 of original debt, $78 monthly is what they're charging you from the interest. And then at an 8% growth, if you were doing this is taking an alternative thing. If you took that and put it into an account that gave you 8% for 30 years, you would actually have $156,000 versus owing somebody that much money. Imagine having saved $5,000. Okay, yeah, if you took that $5,000 instead of getting yourself into debt, and then the interest that you were paying at 19%, if you threw that in there on a monthly basis, and then you let everything compound at an 8% growth for 30 years, you'd have $156,000. So just one example of how the rich get richer. They let their money make money for them, okay? And the poor get poorer because they're using that money and paying for somebody else to make this kind of a money. Think of savings, think of debit accounts, right? You put your $100,000 into a bank somewhere, and they're giving you less than 1%, and then they're loaning it out to someone that's paying 7-8% for a personal loan or for a car loan. Someone's paying 5-6% on a mortgage. Credit cards, they're getting like 30%, and they're giving you less than 1%. They're just using your money to make more money, right? So why not learn how the money game works and let compounding interest work for you, right? Because for us, we want to make a plan to live debt free. So one, live within your means, okay? Whatever you're making, spend less than what you make. Understand how your credit cards work. Understand what minimum payments can do for your overall debt. Don't apply for more credit or higher limit. That's a good strategy. It's tempting when you get more credit cards or higher limits, so you think that you have more money available to you. But at the same time, you got to understand how credit scores work. I have another workshop where I talk about credit scores, credit cards, and stuff like that. And while yes, it's true in this example to get out of debt, you do want to discipline yourself and know how to build your credit, because there are a lot of things that rely on you to have good credit with multiple lines of credit, good credit history, good diversity of types of credit that you have, right? So it really depends on what your goals are, what you're trying to do. Many credit card issuers allow you to freeze your credit card, so it stops you from spending it, but never close an account, okay? You never want to close or cancel an account that's already open, because that's going to negatively affect your credit score. And you don't want to lose all the perks and bonuses that you've been building with that credit line. So build a habit of using cash or debit and work towards paying off your balance. Debt roll-up. Debt can quickly spiral out of control if a person is really in a tough situation that they cannot get out of. There may be a need to explore debt counseling services, okay? But is there another way? Debt consolidation is one of the services. Try to avoid bankruptcy. But is there another way to help reduce your debt or help get it back under control? The debt roll-up, or the snowball method, is a systematic approach of paying more than the minimum. As soon as the first balance is paid off, the freed up payment amount that is used to pay down that original credit card should be rolled up into the next debt, okay? So two approaches. Which one to attack first? The ones with the highest interest, which is going to help save you the most money over time, or the one with the lowest balance, okay? And eliminating the lowest balance, now you're getting that out of the way so that you can roll that payment into the next payment up, okay? So those are the two different approaches. Which one do you need to attack first? Here's a little schedule to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Total debt balance is $401,000. That's to include the mortgage, car loan. You can see the list on the left there. And the goal is to pay off the lowest balance first and keep using the payments that you were using to pay that and roll it up to the next one. Okay, so here in this illustration, we're going to clear up some monthly expenses, cancel some subscriptions that you might not need anymore, right? But we're going to help you find that extra $100 that you didn't know you had. Maybe we eat out less, or maybe we stop smoking, whatever it is that we can do just to free up some money. We're going to apply that extra $100 to the payment. So you can see in that credit card line with the plus 100, the minimum payment's only $10. What we're going to do is we're going to pay $110, okay? Because now it's, instead of 15 months of before you pay off that credit, 15 plus months before you pay off that one credit card, we're going to pay it off in 2 months, okay? So in 2 months, we clear off that credit card. And we're taking that $110 that we were paying into that one, and we're going to put it into the next one. Okay? So now that 110 plus the 25, that's the minimum payment for that second credit card, becomes 135, and we roll that up and we pay that credit card instead of 27 months, we're going to pay it off in 6 months. Okay, you can see how fast this is really helping this example pay off the credit card debts. Now we're going to move into the home improvement loan that they had. We're taking that 135 that is now free, and we're rolling that up and adding that $50 that they were paying for it to 185, taking a 38-month debt, paying it off in 12 months. Okay, now that 185 goes up to that Visa, rinse and repeat. You can see how this continues to grow, and what you're going to end up doing is the mortgage would be your biggest debt, right? So now if you took out all the other loans, credit cards, all the other debt that we successfully cleared out and rolled that $1,100 into the mortgage and pay off the mortgage at $1,800, now we're putting a total of $3,000 into that, and we're paying off a 361 month mortgage. We're taking care of it in 204 months. Okay, ultimately just see how much money we're actually saving in this illustration here. Total current debt $401,000. The goal is to break that out of the way. Instead of a 30-year, kind of a 30-year prison that you're paying off all this debt, this example shows you how you're able to do it in 17 years. Okay, and the total real debt was reduced by about $135,000. Right? So they showed you what an extra 200 can do, what an extra 300 can do, and what you see is a dramatic change or decrease on how much faster you can pay off all of your debt. Okay, and it takes discipline. Okay, if you need to, just go back and watch that section over again. This is on page 23 in the blue workbook, but write down your current debt accounts to begin your own debt roll-up plan. If you need to, scan that QR code. It will take you to an exercise sheet where you can see everything play out. So true or false, once the credit line is paid off, is it a good idea to close that account? Absolutely not. Okay, if you can have a healthy relationship managing your credit cards, I do recommend watching the credit score video just so you can understand, because I do break down the 5 ways they monitor your credit score. But I also mentioned in there, you don't want to close any of your credit card after you pay it off, or closing them at all, just because it truly impacts your credit score in a negative way. But in the long run, what it does is it reduces the available credit to you. It reduces your credit history in the credit age. The credit age is probably something that I appreciate if you know how to manage your credit cards properly. So we don't recommend closing all of your credit lines because they are important to establishing your credit score. A higher credit score may help you receive better lending terms for larger purchases in the future. Develop good long-term habits, build up your credit, and manage your finances with responsibility and discipline. Spend less, save more. What will you change to save more money? And sometimes bad habits, right? Sometimes we're doing things that are wasting our time and our money. That's not being productive. And if we eliminate that, it could help us get into a better, healthier habit of lifestyles, right? How will your family feel when you've accomplished your plan to become debt-free? Who are you going to work for every day? I mean, realistically, is like you should want to have your money work harder for you than you have to work for your money. Okay, but every day people are giving the best of their time to their employers, sometimes to the government. I mean, think of all the taxes that you're paying them. The banks are making money off of you, right? So don't you think that you and your family deserve your own hard-earned money? So we want to make sure that your money is working for you. So how are some ways that you can increase your cash flow? If you've been at a job for a long time, you're doing well, you can ask for a raise. The worst thing they can say is no, right? You can actually work overtime if they're available to you. You work a part-time job or start a part-time business, right? Some people job hop. They go from one company to the next to get a little pay bump or increase. Back in the day, people used to stay at a company. The longer you were, the better they took care of you. But today, when times change, strategies change. So there are opportunities out there. Starting a part-time business, of course I'm biased, but starting a part-time business to me is the best, only because you get to learn how tax advantages work and how deductibles work, right? And then at the same time, when you have your own business, realistically, you can determine and control how much you can get paid or how much your time is worth. Whether you get a job that pays you hourly or salary, they're always going to tell you how much your time is worth, because that's what they're willing to pay you. So in summary, I can find ways to save money by consistently reevaluating my monthly expenses. I can manage my debt and plan to pay them off faster using the debt roll-up strategy. In addition to saving more and spending less, I can find ways to earn more. Okay, it all starts with paying yourself first. What else did you learn that will help you increase your cash flow? Like starting a business, right? So imagine, do you think if people understood what liabilities were, they would have less debt? Because again, you don't want to collect things that are taking money out of your pocket. Wouldn't living debt-free be less stressful? And a time when you had, just think back to a time when you had no debts or payments. Like, how much simpler was life? How much did you appreciate every day, right? It's just something that we overlook because we've become so used to owing money. If you could use your income for building financial freedom, how much better would life look and feel with no financial liabilities, right? That peace of mind is so important, right? Until you actually face a challenge or a situation where you did not have to worry about the financial part of it, you don't realize how powerful having that peace of mind can really be, all right? And what would it feel like for you to be in a situation like that? Here's one testimonial from our WSB community. Neil Adrian Ignacio shared that, just want to share what I'm learning with our campaign, which I am applying to my own finances. I follow the Financial Foundation by heart. I am proud to say that I have proper protection and I have wiped out any debt so that every month all of my credit cards show $0 balance. I have also built a significant emergency fund that can cover my monthly expenses for 1 full year. That's amazing. As the workshop state, it is not how much money we make, but how much money we save is what matters the most. All right, if I knew they were going to post that, I would have put my like in there and hoped that it would show up as well. But join our World System Builder community on Facebook. We have over 90,000 members in our community. They share their stories, experiences, strategies. They share their impact, their campaigning in the field. They share everything because it takes a community to really build a good culture, and we want to be a part of it. Okay, and we would love for you to be a part of it. One of the greatest miracles is that you can change your life simply by changing the way you think. So some homework: connect with the person who invited you, get the Workshop 2 section in your page signed off, right? Be a part of the 30 million financially educated. Share this with family and friends so that they can become financially independent, and join our other workshops so that way you can see what other information is available for you. Okay, work with the licensed financial professional to help you improve your financial strategies, and thank you for your time. Everyone have a great one, and I'll see you in Workshop 3.